Okay, Mr. Wayne here. We're going to make this quick update video for our documentary series. Right now it is January 30th, 11:43 at night on a Thursday. Now I want to talk a little bit about how this ideal, this thing that I have is unfolding for me and the current plan that we have when it comes to getting this information out to you and building the New Thought movement, New Thought Society. Right now, it dawned on me that I'm actually creating the commentary for the Master Key system already. Now, I did start my program, so to speak, with the Master Key system, and we are on part 1. Today is our second day. Yesterday was our first. And we already have about 4.5, almost 5 hours of content of just pure commentary. And we've only read, I'd say maybe about 10 pages. We've only been 10 pages in. Now, I was talking to a good acquaintance of mine, a Christian man, great man, very good at what he does, very strong in his beliefs, and very open-minded to the reality of spirituality beyond just pure religion. And he mentioned, hey, you just got to talk faster. And I do talk pretty quick, but I also know that it needs to be in a digestible form, because there's a lot of information that is covered. The things that we do are not just, it's not just for, you don't just open it up. Obviously, we want you to enjoy it, but there is information in there. It's a legitimate study. It's a lecture. It's a commentary, right? We read the information. We read the book. We explain what the author is talking about. We connect it to other things that are out there in the world with other information to give you a complete, fuller understanding of the information that we are covering. Because all it has to do with it all does with consciousness. It does with mind. Consciousness and the subject of consciousness goes very, very, very deep in the totality of understanding exactly what consciousness is, and then taking consciousness and bringing it into the form that's digestible, easily understood. There is a lot that goes to and into being able to do that. And that's ultimately what the purpose of New Thought Society is, and our purpose for making these videos for you. Because not everybody is up to par when it comes to what consciousness actually is. People are certainly waking up to it, which is a huge benefit in a very, very positive thing. But to really bring it from the past of what Christ was teaching all the way through the beginning of New Thought itself, through all the phases of what New Thought went through, to where we are today with modern science and quantum physics. There is a lot that goes into being able to do all that and connecting everything simply and easily in an easily digestible form. It takes a while to get there. And also in the process of explaining the ideal of what New Thought is itself. Right, so these commentaries are not just something to throw on. It is something that you can just throw on, but it's a legitimate lecture. It's like a classroom, right? It takes time to get through it. And obviously we want to be as entertaining as possible so you're not bored through the process, and present it in such a way to where it's very interesting to listen to, right? For you to want to be here, there's a lot that goes into that. Now, I believe it was in, more than positive, it was in Think and Grow Rich when Napoleon Hill was talking about, hey, it doesn't matter how long it takes. right? You could have a presentation. Don't worry about how long it takes to present the information. What's important is that it is presented the way it needs to be. And everything that goes around what you're presenting and the information found therein is given to the audience. The audience needs to know everything around the subject, regardless of the time it takes. Because those of you who are serious and here listening and watching it will make the time to go through it. Because as you do that and as you grow too in your understanding of what we cover, and as you step more and more into the power of your own consciousness and mind, you will be enabled to use your thoughts conscientiously and your desires conscientiously to manifest the reality and the dreams and the desires that you want in this life. Right? This is everything that this information covers, and there's, like you said, there is a legitimate process you have to go through, that I have to go through, that we have to go through to really step into that God power that we are connected to and that we are all expressions of. So that being said, where we are right now, the plan is, we know people learn in many different ways. Right now we have 2 full books out, a history. We're working on a history of the New Thought movement. We were editing chapter 5 earlier. And we have the full audio book of Master Key System by Charles F. Hannell out. And we also have the full book of The Message of New Thought by Abel Ellen. Now I'm splitting these up into versions, okay? There's version 1. Version 1 is mainly for mobile. Version 1 is mainly for when you're on your phone, you want to throw something on, listen to something as you do the things that you are doing throughout your day. Version 1, this is what version 1 is for. And I have the background as, it's a plain background with the sound bar that, bumps, does its animation thing as the recording goes along. That's going to be version 1. It's mainly designed for your mobile phone. Now version 2, which I'm currently putting out right now with Master Key System. I'm doing that with Master Key System first because we've already did it with Master Key System a while ago. Now we're just taking it, revamping it, and doing it under New Thought Society. So we're putting version 2 out now. Version 2 is going to be a read along where I take pictures of the page, edit the picture, make it look great with the background, so you could follow along with the book as we're reading it, right? People learn in different ways. Now version 2 is mainly designed for bigger screens, such as, hey, if you have your tablet, your iPad, your Android Galaxy tablet, and even your TV, right? Version 2 will be mainly designed for these things. So for the viewer that wants to get deeper into the information and the audiobooks, and they want to read along as I am reading it for them, then here's version 2, right? And the great thing and the powerful thing, people do learn in different ways, and they learn differently through the senses, because I know when I read the book, I ingest it differently as compared to when I'm listening to it. Now when you listen to it and read it simultaneously, you're pulling more of this information through your senses. You're grasping more and more of what is being said. So version 2 will be a higher version of version 1. And like I said, it'll be mainly for iPads and TVs or your tablet, bigger screens. Because on the phone, unless you have a giant phone, on the phone you won't really be able to follow along unless you're zooming in. And if you want to do that, by all means you can. I'm not saying you can't, but it's not really so much necessary. If you don't have a tablet, if you don't have your TV to watch it from, that may be your only option if you want to see version 2. However you choose to listen and watch the video, it's your choice. But that's going to be version 2. And then version 3 will be the commentary. Version 3 will be me reading it in front of the camera, explaining everything, commenting on it. And those are going to be the long ones. But I'll tell you what, with my these last several days doing the commentaries with Master Key System, right? It took about 40-50 minutes just to get through the biography and the introduction, then took 2 hours to get through the foreword, and then another 2 hours to get through part 1. And that's, like I said, that's 4.5, almost 5 hours already of content for just a couple pages of a book, of a program. Master Key System is a program. Now, if on average every part that I go through takes 2 hours and there's 24 parts, that's 48-50 hours of content just on one book, one program, which is fine, which is good. To me, for the people that are really interested and are serious about it, they will watch it. And ultimately, like we've learned through inductive reasoning, new thought came from the process of inductive reasoning and science, and connecting truth from philosophies, religions, science, anything, everything. It's inductive reasoning, and they brought it to create new thought. New thought is what was called a special literature of spirituality. It's not exactly defined under one. It's not defined by religion. It's not defined by any type of doctrine. It's just the truth, all brought together in the wordings of modern science today. And there's a lot that goes to that. But like I was saying, to me, it didn't even take 2 hours, right? To me, it took 2 hours. But we'll talk about states of mind, right? We know we have different brain waves. And the brain wave that we are in is dependent upon our mental attitude, right? How, and what we are focused on. Now, there's a state called the state of flow. Now, flow explains that when you get so engrossed into the subject of what you're doing, certain parts of your brain, particularly parts of the frontal lobe, you have your blood and nerve force, which is activated in your frontal lobe, that's responsible. Okay, let me re-explain this. There's a part of your frontal lobe that is responsible for sensing time and space. And this sensory perception of time and space is dependent upon where you're focusing your mind, where you're focusing your consciousness, the things that you are concentrated on. Now, flow state, I can't remember exactly which brainwave state you would be in. I want to say it may be alpha. I will find out for sure, 100% sure. So then once we're explaining it, we know for sure. But there's a certain brainwave state that you enter into once you're in the state of flow. Now what happens is blood and nerve force less blood flows into that part of your frontal lobe which senses time and space, and more blood and nerve force goes into the parts of your brain that are focusing on the thing that you have your attention focus on, the task at hand. That's why you could be so engrossed in something, and then the time just seems to fly by, right? Because that part of your brain, just the blood and nerve force that would flood that part of the brain just goes out from that part of the brain and moves into the part of which your brain is legitimately using, right? Your mental forces move from that part into this other part. And this is what Einstein's theory of relativity explains too, that you could be, as a man, you could be in a room with a very beautiful woman and you're just so engrossed in your conversation, what you're doing with that woman, that the time just flies by. Then you could be in another phase Let's say you're doing a task that you have absolutely no interest in, thinking about the time. 5 minutes just feels like forever because you're so focused. Like your mind, you don't want to be there, right? You want to be somewhere else, and you're just looking at the time. You're focusing on the allotted time. This is why it's so important for you to really create something out of the things that are of interest. Because to me, by all means, let's do some more commentaries, especially doing those. I've had a very, very fantastic time. I had a great time doing them. And I encourage you to go through it with me. And my commentary that I'm creating with the Master Key System right now is also a documentation of my journey through it again. So this commentary for the Master Key System is going to take me 6 months to do. Now I wanted to make this video really quick too. Not only did I want to share the plan for the 3 different versions we're going to have when it comes to these audiobooks, because I feel that the biggest thing, like the meat and bones of what this movement is going to be found in those commentaries, because people love interaction. People love seeing a person on the screen engaged in the information that is being done. That's where the interest is in today, and I know that's what I need to be doing ultimately. But as we said, building the foundation of everything, it starts with the audiobook, because this isn't something that, like, I'm doing my due diligence to create New Thought Society, but New Thought itself didn't come from me, right? It's a movement that just came into being. Like, I really honestly believe that the hand of God was present when it came to the creation of this movement, because it started as a mental healing movement. It started as a movement to heal the mind. When people learned about the mind, authors, people, healers, pastors all came together, and they started writing upon the new information and the new science that was found. And they were helping others heal themselves, because the truth of what Christ came to give us came into light, came into being. The understanding, hey, Christ is inside all of us. It has to do with understanding. It has to do with the state of mind. It has to do with the embodiment of the wisdom of God in the presence of this divine intelligence that is within us. Right? God is within us. God is everywhere. God is within everything, because everything is consciousness. And consciousness pervades all empty space, quote unquote empty space. There's no such thing as empty space. It's filled with a living mind. And everything that's material, all matter, which is made out of atoms. These atoms are made out of subatomic particles. And the very foundation of the existence of these subatomic particles is consciousness. So consciousness not only pervades all empty space, it is the very foundational essence, so to speak, of all matter, including me and you. And if everything in existence is found in consciousness, all wisdom, all power, it's present everywhere, and it's a power that is immortal. This power also exists in you, and you have access to this power. And that's how the mental healing happens, when it comes to the wisdom and divine understanding of what's already within you, and tapping into it with your conscious mind, with your thinking. Master Key System explains exactly how we tap into that power and how we can use it to manifest and create the things that we want in our life, because we live in a universe that is order. Everything is divine order. The law of attraction, law of cause and effect, law of growth, the psychological laws of man. There are laws that govern our lives. And when we bring our mind and our thought process in congruence with how these laws work, we then form that unified connection with the power of which we are already connected to. Now, that is a very interesting thing about this, because humans being an expression of consciousness, and us being divine souls and spiritual beings ourselves with the power of choice, We can choose to think along the lines of nature, along the lines of the infinite mind. We could choose to think in congruence with the laws of God, or we could choose not to. Now, how powerful is that? And these laws work no matter what. Regardless of what we believe, the law works. Now, the example I always use, that I've already used many times, and if you've been with me since the beginning, you probably already know what I'm going to say, the law of gravity. If I take my wonderful St. Michael candle, and I'm definitely not going to drop it. If I lift it up and I let it go, gravity's going to pull it to the floor. Now, whether I believe in gravity or not, that is what is going to happen. It's the exact same thing with these other laws. Exact same thing with the psychological laws. It is the nature of consciousness to embody that which it thinks about most of the time. Regardless of what I think, regardless of what I believe, the law says I will become what I think, and I will express that thought process in form. It is just a law. I don't have to believe in it. That's just what happens when we think. It is a law. And New Thought teaches these laws, and the Master Key teaches exactly how to use it for our benefit, to become the person we want to become. Because it all starts inside. It all starts with tapping in and accessing this power and utilizing it and creating ourselves to be it. Remember, we don't always get what we want, we get what we are. So using the law of attraction, we first have to become the person to really truly manifest and attract that in our lives. And it starts with our thinking, because thought is the seed which creates the hardware of the mind, which becomes the pattern of our thinking, so to speak, which will express as our character, as our conduct. In that character, our conduct, our subconscious habitual thoughts naturally express themselves through our physical selves. We're just naturally the expression of that which we think about most. Very powerful information. And I wanted to share that really quick. Right now I am working on version 2, and pretty soon we'll be able to purchase our domain, and pretty soon we'll be able to get the rest of our lovely foam panels so we could complete our mastermind box. Right now we're at 14 subscribers. It's pretty cool. It's very exciting, especially the nature of this information, right? We do have the ideal of it being something that's just big. Like, I really truly believe this is going to turn into something that is a huge thing for society, for people as a whole, for all of us, that'll work for our benefit. Because this isn't just something that, these aren't cat videos. I love cats, right? These aren't just, right? These things mean something. That's the whole point, right? Everything about New Thought means something. And it's not just for you to waste your time. It's for you to embody the higher portion of who you are and how to utilize your forces for the creation of the things that you want in your life. They said it's a message, like it explained through the message of New Thought. Ultimately, the message behind New Thought Society is you are a very, very powerful creator, and you're connected to something that has no limits, absolutely no limits. Abel Allen explains it as the coming man, right? The next phase of our humanity, the next phase of our evolution. Eventually, everything we talk about here is going to be basic knowledge. It has to become basic knowledge. For where we are in our society today, this would be considered advanced knowledge. But once we reach a point where this is basic understanding, and everyone as a society is just operating from this basic knowledge, and they're using this infinite power that they're connected to create and deliberately manifest all the great things that we see these great men that they're doing today. Like, for example, Elon Musk. That man is doing great things. He's doing phenomenal things. He's doing many things. And I have no doubt in my mind, you hear Elon talk about consciousness all the time. Elon understands consciousness. He understands himself. He understands the laws of the universe of which we live. And he's using these things conscientiously to be where he is today. And we know what he's doing today is phenomenal. It's big. But the point of that is what he is doing will eventually be just what your average person is doing, because there are no limitations on the growth of the man. There is absolutely no limitation to how far us humans can go. And that's the message. That's the message. There is no limitation to what we can do if we understand ourselves and the laws of the universe we live by and our connection to the divine power. Remember, you are made in its image. That means something. It's not, and that image is spiritual, right? It's the spiritual part of who we are, the inner part of who we are, the mental part of who we are that makes us different from all the other creatures on this planet. Now, I'll end it with this, a little bit of food for thought. Just the fact that the human can understand God shows that the human has the seed of God in them. You have the seed of God in you. Being created in its image, your consciousness is no different than the universal consciousness. Your spirit is the same spirit as the infinite spirit. You are one with it. As Christ told us, I and the Father are one. Everything that I do, I do because I see the Father do. Right? Everything Christ was a complete embodiment of the nature and characteristics of God. And because he thought along the lines of God, he embodied God's character in the flesh. And he told us we will do more than he did with the right understanding. And he also told us that everything he does, we can do too. In Philippians, Apostle Paul says, Jesus saw it not robbery to make himself equal with God, because Christ, the story of Christ, was a man. Christ consciously, continuously said, I am the Son of Man, indicating that he is no different than us. He was no different than us. But yet Apostle Paul in Philippians says that he didn't see it robbery to make himself equal with God. Now think about that. Think about that. Eventually we will be getting into the Bible. And like I said, because all this that we're doing with New Thought is connected directly to the teachings of Christ. Alright. See, like now, I just got into the state of flow. I plan on I wanted to make a quick video, which was only going to be about 10 minutes, but yet I'm still here at 29 minutes. And anyway, yeah. Time for our second day of meditating. Right now, Mr. Hannell has us for our first week, our meditation practice. I am meditating in the lotus position. First time I went through the Master Key system, I did it in the lotus position. You can choose to sit however you want. What he has us doing for our first week is just securing complete control over the physical body. Being able just to sit there still. Okay, that's our training for this week. Sitting there in the silence, still, because the point is to get control over the physical body. You don't have to sit there in the lotus position. You can sit there in your chair. You could sit there on your couch. But he says you can't lounge. Okay, you can't be lounging. You have to be sitting up straight. You have to be comfortable. And you have to be focused on maintaining that physical control. That's what we're doing this week. So if you decide you want to join us in this journey through our 6 months of the Master Key System, go through it with me. You don't need to watch my commentary. I encourage you to. So you get that feeling that you're going along with me as I'm doing this too. Because not only, like I said, not only am I recording this journey, but I'm also doing it in the form of a commentary so we could get version 3 out. Because we are explaining, right, what is being read, what is being said, and what it means. We're talking about all that through as we read the part. And then, like I said, we're going through the legitimate practices and applying it in our meditation. Now, I am choosing to do 30 minutes at least 5 times a week. Now, the thing with the mind does need rest. The mind does get tired just as the physical body gets tired. And I did explain this in the commentary for the first part. Of course, you want to be consistent with your physical training, but you have to have your days off to rest. Now, how I explained it, because you need to think about it this way. If you train your muscles, say right now I'm going through DOMS. I'm going through DOMS in both my legs, my back, and my biceps. I am very, very sore, and I feel very tight. Because I shredded my muscles, right? I tore my muscle fibers. Okay, that's what happens when you train. You're literally shredding the fibers of which your muscles are. And your body, once you ingest protein, your carbohydrates, you eat healthy, your body takes that and it restores the muscle. It repairs the muscle, and the muscle grows and comes back stronger. Now, unless you're taking the days off to rest, you're not going to be fully restoring the process. You're not allowing the full restoration process of your muscle to build to fully become intact. So if you, like, let's say for example, my back and biceps, they're sore right now. They're going to be even more sore tomorrow because DOMS hits most 2 days after you train the muscle. DOMS stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. It's when you feel the most sore, usually 2 days after you train the muscle. You feel most sore in that muscle. Now if you wait like 3 days, for example, and then you're training back and biceps again, your muscles still haven't fully recovered. So you won't be able to put as much intensity into the training as you would have if you just allowed the muscle to fully recover. When you give the muscle time to fully recover, you are then able to hit the workout with more intensity and more strength because your building, so to speak, is now fully restored. You're fully repaired. It's the exact same thing with the mind. The mind is a muscle. It's a mental muscle. Now, it's not made out of muscles like our muscles are, but it's a mental muscle. It's an intangible force. It's the mind force. Now, same thing like I said with the muscles. You need to give your mind time to rest away from the mental training. So we're not going to be doing our meditations every single day. Okay, just like the mind. If you're working all the time, you need that rest away from work for your mind to be on other things. So then when you go back to work, your mind is back in it, energized. Right? It's the same principle. So just like we train on average 4 to 5 days a week, we're going to be doing these meditations on average 4 to 5 days a week and going through it. And even after we're done with the Master Key program, we're still going to be applying the same principles because they are principles. And remember, the attitude of mind is what is important and is the creative force and power behind the things you manifest and the person that you become. So anyway, we got our training tonight. We are up to date on our documentation. And how exciting. Have a good night. I will see you in the next video.